Hey guys, welcome to my presentation. But it's about Pink Floyd exploring the music of a legendary and influential group. So I'm Patrick Slayer, and I've been listening to Pink Floyd for 10 years. My brother introduced me when I was around 11 to the vinyl pieces of their album The Wall and Dark Side of the Moon, and they're incredibly powerful and influential to me, and I picked up a lot of those messages when I was a kid, and it definitely shaped the person that I am today. So, a little bit of backstory, or just a little bit of intros. Pink Floyd is a British rock band that still stands the test of time, and they are known for their groundbreaking sounds, experimental style, and riveting performances. So, their formation in early years, they were formed in 1965 London, England, after members had been childhood friends. Sid and eventually the guy that replaced him, David Gilmour, and I believe Rick Wright were all childhood friends and they all went to school together growing up, talked about forming a band, and it eventually was founded in 1965, as I just said, by Sid Barrett, Roger Waters, Rick Wright and Nick Mason. Sid Barrett had this really heavy psychedelic influence on the band, making them kind of with an experimental sound with the Piper at the Gates of Dawn, which had a lot of kind of trippy audio and guitar progressions that were really interesting. The song Interstellar Overdrive has this really interesting chromatic opening and closing riff that kind of gives it a psychedelic and experimental feel. So their sound evolves as Sid Barrett leaves due to mental health problems, and although they claim to never be a psychedelic using group or never use drugs, Sid Barrett definitely used drugs and helped with their psychedelic influence. He was replaced by David Gilmour, and Sid Barrett was the primary songwriter for them before, and then he was then replaced by Roger Waters in this new era with David Gilmour, and they dropped albums like Atomic Heart Mother and Metal and Obscured by Clouds that kind of showed like a new experimental and innovative sounds. And this new formation of the band kind of helps introduce their concept albums, which they're really famous for, The Dark Side of the Moon and Wish You Were Here. So, moving on to their more famous works, the things that they're really known for, Dark Side of the Moon, which was released in 1973, which is an experimental and different sound, became iconic, explored a lot of existentialist questionings and philosophical questionings about like things like time, money, and mental health. They literally have two songs called Time and Money, which kind of ask questions about those concepts, like are they societal, are they real things? And definitely some mental health conversations in there about identity, and then that intertwines with the existentialism as well. And Wish You Were Here, which was an album, and the specific track Wish You Were Here were definitely a big tribute to their former band member, friend and influence, Sid Barrett, who was a big part of their life and definitely helped them form, and they wouldn't be where they are today without him. And that song Wish You Were Here is a really touching and emotional piece about what their friend means to them and what they hope for their friend. They really do hope and wish the best for him. And The Wall is very interesting. It's a rock opera discussing mental health and personal struggle, and it has the hits like Another Brick in the Wall Part 2 and Comfortably Numb. And these things, it talks a lot about, I know The Wall, it kind of seems like if you listen through it your first time, it might seem like an allegory for the war or something, but it's all just a lot of figurative thing, and the wall actually stands for the mental walls that you build up for yourself, and it uses a lot of old World War or not World War II, but a lot of like old audio from like 90s and 80s TV shows, I think. And it has these really interesting influential features, and you can see in some upcoming slides how their performances and they use like puppets and stuff to talk about figures in their songs like Mother and The Teacher from Another Brick in the Wall, where they talk about education a lot and how it's kind of like an oppressive system. Um, so here are those puppets that I talked about. On the left, you can see his mother, and on the right is the kind of oppressive teacher, and they would like put these up when they're performing and stuff, which is really huge and wasn't really seen a lot that I know of, which makes them really unique and impactful. So their music transcends generations and cultures, obviously, because I'm here and I listened to it when I was 10 years old. So despite them forming in 65 and a lot of their albums coming out in the mid 70s, their messages still stand true to this day about education and definitely the existentialist questions. And easily Dark Side of the Moon, that Prism has become a pop culture symbol. I feel like even if you don't listen to Pink Floyd, you definitely have seen that. So, yeah, their legacy and influence, they influenced Tool, Radiohead, and Dream Theater. Those bands have all cited Pink Floyd as an influence for them. Their music is, as I said, still being listened to this day. They have 18.5 million monthly listeners on Spotify. As I was just talking about, their songs are still culturally relevant with the messages of mental health. Anyone can relate, and just a little bit of their legacy, like what happened to them, where they are now. Sid Barrett passed away in 2006. Unfortunately, sad to hear. And Richard Wright passed away in 2008. You can see Sid is on the left. That's an old picture of him. Richard Wright is on the right of the screen. And in the middle is some of the members as they look today. So, yeah, thank you guys. And I hope you guys have a great day.